You can't reasonably go anywhere that you need to be for more than a couple hours if you are not allowed to go to the bathroom anywhere outside of your house. I literally have no choice but to break this law for my own safety. We're ready. We've hit like, we've had our water, we've taken our drink, and we're gonna talk about how much it fucking sucks to live in Kansas. Okay, cool. Your boy lives in Kansas, and I've always thought like, oh, you know what? Kansas is not great, but we have like enough Democrats here. There's a couple of blue places in Kansas that realistically it is like something that could swing purple, I think, at some later time. You know, especially because you have more and more older voters passing away. We had the abortion amendment in like last year, and we did manage to come out and vote. Popular vote supported abortion in the state of Kansas. We also managed to have a Democratic governor, not infrequently. Like, we had Kathleen Sebelius when I was younger, and then we had Brownback, and now we have Governor Kelly. Having that veto is really great. The problem is that the rest of the state is so heavily gerrymandered that we do have a veto-proof supermajority on some issues. And a couple of those issues recently, which we may have already briefly talked about on stream before, but Kansas has done an anti-trans sports ban, you know, for at least for schools, like in public schools. I'm not entirely sure if it branches all the way to college. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they passed that even though Governor Kelly vetoed it because they had the veto-proof majority on it. I think they have literally exactly the number of votes required for the veto-proof supermajority. Yay! And then more recently, there was a bill going through which is an anti-trans bathroom bill. You know, if you can remember way back in the day in 2016, Gavin Grimm in North Carolina is kind of where this whole thing started, was, you know, schools disallowing trans kids from using the bathroom, and then Gavin Grimm sued the district, and that was like the beginning of the public conversation, the contention around trans people using the bathrooms of their actual gender. That conversation hasn't really stopped since then. It's amazing to me how much of a non-issue it was before that. Strange how there wasn't an epidemic of men dressing up as women in order to victimize women in the bathroom. It's just a method of attacking trans people's rights to public spaces by pretending that it has something to do with men pretending to be women and like hypothetical harm. So yeah, here we have in Kansas, we have now the most sweeping trans bathroom law in the US. So on Thursday, yeah, this was today, overriding the Democratic governor's veto of the measure, and there's no real clear idea of how the new law will be enforced. It has the exact 2/3 majority in the House in order to override. The vote in the Senate was at 28-12. The new law takes effect July 1st. So I am a transgender person who lives in Kansas. And so it's like, okay, is this just everywhere? You know, we have to be aware of like, how much is this going to affect what different groups? And the answer is that this is going to affect some of the most vulnerable groups, even within the fact that trans people are quite vulnerable. They are disallowing trans people to use the restroom associated with their gender identity in schools, locker rooms, prisons, domestic violence shelters, and rape crisis centers. Here, let's look at this. So yeah, the governor did veto it. She said companies have made it clear that they're not interested in doing business with states that discriminate against workers and their families. By stripping away rights from Kansans and opening the state to expensive and unnecessary lawsuits, these bills would hurt our ability to continue breaking economic records and landing new business deals. I'm focused on the economy. Anyone care to join me? That's what she vetoed it with. The actual language in the bill. So this is what it is purporting to do. This is establishing the Women's Bill of Rights. Yeah, providing a meaning of biological sex and then purposes of statutory construction. So notwithstanding any provision of law, individual sex means that individual's biological sex, female or male, at birth. A female is an individual whose biological reproductive system is developed to produce ova, and a male is an individual whose biological reproductive system is developed to fertilize the ova of a female, which is great. The terms woman and girl refer to females, man and boy refer to males. The term mother means female. The term father means male. With respect to biological sex, the term equal does not mean same or identical. So this is like enshrining in law like a more codified, separate but equal with regards to sex. Like, yeah, we have separate spaces for men and women, but it's not discriminatory, and it's not the same as having separate spaces for white and black people, because unlike the differences between white and black people, which we have definitely never believed to be a fundamental biological difference, there is for sure a fundamental biological difference between males and females, and therefore separate accommodations are not inherently unequal, even though we can definitely demonstrate how men's facilities are, in some cases, in particular with regards to like sports and things, men's facilities are better funded. An individual born with a medically verifiable diagnosis of a difference in sex development, DSD, shall be provided with legal protections and accommodations afforded under the Americans with Disabilities Act and applicable Kansas statutes. It doesn't really say what that means. Like, what are the accommodations? This is one of the issues with this bill. Like, this is one of the issues with this bill that you're going to discover. And this is the version of the bill that passed, I believe. It got vetoed. This is the copy that was attached to the veto. And then they just voted again with a supermajority. The kind of accommodations are realistically going to be like, you have to piss in the single-stall disabled toilet, which, like, as a non-binary person, that's what I usually do anyway, because that is the accessible bathroom for me. I don't know how they expect to address intersex people. They don't go into the details on it. And you'll find that even further in, they continue to not go into further details. So yeah, if you enjoy this kind of ridiculous breakdown of the individual components of the law, up to and including in this case, reading the language and reading that you could potentially see this as preventing us from changing our identity documents in a bathroom bill, we'll get there. Hit the like button and consider, if you haven't already, you need to subscribe. And if you want to, you can do a donation, because this is my job. I'm taking psychic damage for you. This is my job. Please, thank you. Taxes, self-employment. Anyway, okay, so here we go. Laws and regulations that distinguish between the sexes are subject to intermediate constitutional scrutiny. Intermediate constitutional scrutiny forbids unfair discrimination against similarly situated male and female individuals, but allows the law to distinguish between the sexes where such distinctions are substantially related to important governmental objectives. The important governmental objectives that are being relied upon in this case is like the idea of safety, you know, like the idea of hypothetical safety for women, notwithstanding any provision of state law to the contrary. Distinctions between the sexes with respect to athletics, prisons or other detention facilities, domestic violence shelters, rape crisis centers, locker rooms, restrooms, and other areas where biology, safety, or privacy are implicated that result in separate accommodations are substantially related to the important governmental objectives of protecting the health, safety, and privacy of individuals in such circumstances. So this is like sweeping. I guess like it's kind of implicating every single instance where separate facilities for different genders are here. But let's continue a little bit further. Any school district or public school thereof, and any state agency, department or office or political subdivision that collects vital statistics for the purpose of complying with anti-discrimination laws or for the purpose of gathering accurate public health, crime, economic, or other data shall identify each individual who is part of the collected data set as either male or female at birth. I get, so this it's like so unclear. This top part up here does not create any law provision, like in terms of like, how do you enforce this? It doesn't actually say like, you shall not use the bathroom. Like, it's written in such a broad manner that it could apply to almost fucking anything, which is pretty regular. So yeah, so there's nothing in here that actually says how they're going to enforce the bathroom thing. How are you going to know what someone's biological sex at birth was? Are you going to require people to carry that kind of documentation? And the reason that it's written that way, as per usual, the reason that it's written so broadly is so that they can deny the worst aspects of the possibilities that could happen as a result of a law written this broadly. But then the harmful, like the worst interpretation of this law can still then happen. They'll say, oh no, of course we're not going to do genital inspections. Of course we're not going to accost everybody who tries to enter a women's bathroom if they have short hair. You know, they'll say those things, but then it doesn't matter because the law is broadly written. So like there's no clear punishment or anything. Like it does not write this into an existing law. Like it doesn't say, oh, this is going to be punished in the same way that like other, like, I don't know, something like indecent exposure or something like I'm just saying a comparable law. Yeah, it's so they can pick and choose who they want to target. But this part at the bottom is the part about this that is more gravely concerning, in that this could be enforced without necessarily without the need for detailed provisions. Like this part is saying any any state agency, for the purpose of complying with anti-discrimination laws or for the purpose of gathering accurate public health, crime, economic, or other data, shall identify each individual who is part of the collected data set as either male or female at birth. Basically, that is so loosely written that it could mean that we can't really change our driver's license anymore. And it does that go retroactively? You know, for the purpose of reporting public health or reporting data in general about the public, if I have a driver's license, are they saying, this basically could be interpreted to say they're not going to allow for trans people to be counted as their gender and will be counted as their sex at birth. So, I mean, yeah, for the purposes of identifying you publicly, one of the main ways that they do that is from the driver's license. So it's also, yeah, the retroactive question of will it be changed in retrospect? Do they keep records? I'm sure they keep records of, I changed the gender on my driver's license years ago. And so are they going to retroactively switch that back? I don't know. It's also to stop trans people from being represented in statistics. We will be disappeared from the data. Yeah, I mean, this is effectively putting into policy the idea that trans people are not a legitimate minority group. If we aren't a legitimate way of being, like Michael Knowles said, if we are not a legitimate category of people, then, you can remove protections from us. You can remove us from data collection. You don't have to take into account any of our needs. If we aren't a genuine class of people, you can then do anything to us. And it's well, that's not a protected class, Yeah, all that data that shows how harmfully transphobic the society that we live in is and how harmful the policy is. Yeah, you can't have that data if they just don't write it down. It's the same reason why we don't have nationwide data about police brutality. It's because if you just refuse to keep a written record of it, keep an actual record of it, then you can deny that it's even happening in the first place. Well, I guess I'll just piss on the floor. Yeah, I mean, what the fuck else are you supposed to do? You go and pee outside against a tree and you get arrested for indecent exposure is what's going to happen. It's, the more you marginalize people, you prevent them from accessing public spaces, the more they're going to need to, go do something else instead. So if you have, a legally sanctioned space for people to go piss and people are out in public and they can't take a piss because you've legally removed them from the bathroom, they're going to end up going somewhere else or not leaving their houses. So either you can criminalize them for pissing on a tree, or you can effectively just eliminate them from public life by making it to where you can't reasonably go anywhere that you need to be for more than a couple hours if you are not allowed to go to the bathroom anywhere outside of your house. Yeah, when Trump said COVID numbers would be better if they just stop all that dang testing. Anytime I'm reading statistics that are this is the current number of cases in this place, I'm yeah, sure. You can always pee on Margaret Thatcher's grave. True. That's going to require a little bit of travel for some of us. Matt Walsh and TERFs would say that we should karyotype everyone outside the bathroom. I hope you can hold it while we look for SRY gene. Who the fuck would pay for that? Who's going to be responsible? We don't even know. We cannot even come close to knowing what the actual numbers are on how many XXXY crossovers there are, XY females and XX males. We do not know what the actual numbers are because, frankly, if you appear normatively male and you don't have fertility issues, even if you do have fertility issues, if you appear normatively male or female, there's no reason for you to be tested. We don't actually know how prevalent chromosomal differences are because no one gets that tested. It's unreasonable to get. It's expensive. It's pointless. It's probably a lot, if I had to guess, though. The actual number of chromosomally intersex people who are normally fertile and appear to be completely binary sex of like that just happens to be the opposite of their chromosomal indication. I mean, why are we even talking about this like they're reasonable people? They have a solution. Anyone who does not look enough like a woman to them will get harassed and beat up. That's it. That's the whole conversation. I mean, yeah, like because this is written so broadly, it's like this could, they basically are saying any restroom. Like, I feel like the couple of articles that I saw about this were missing out on the idea that like this is two different subsections. C is referring to how you refer to individuals. You refer to them by either male or female as part of collected data sets. But this is just saying like in all of these spaces, in locker rooms, restrooms, like does this apply to private businesses or does it only apply to state agencies and like state whatever? Like, you know, if I go to like the bathroom at the courthouse, am I going to be required to use the female restroom? Like, here's the realistic thing. I don't look female anymore, despite the fact that that's what I was assigned at birth. If I talk to someone, they're going to know, like, I can femme up my voice a little bit, but the idea that there's going to be question, that there's going to be scrutiny, means that, like, I don't actually have a choice but to use the men's restroom if I want to be safe. The female restroom is going to be the one that gets policed. So anyone with short hair, anyone with a masculine haircut like mine, anyone who just isn't completely normatively female looking, anyone who's too tall, yeah, exactly, tall cis lady is going to get harassed. And overwhelmingly, the type of people who are going to be affected by this are cisgender women who are just kind of androgynous. But yeah, every trans person basically, I mean, first of all, if we pass well enough, we're just going to use the restroom that we want to and fuck anybody who cares about that, you know? Rape crisis centers, what are they even implying with that? I mean, they're not even implying anything. It's all very clearly out there. They think that males and females need to be segregated because of the health and safety and privacy of individuals. So they're saying at a rape crisis center, like, you have to use your biological sex at birth bathroom because women's safety is on the line in these spaces. So yeah, it's like not even in the bathroom of rape crisis centers. Wait, so does that mean that rape crisis centers can only be single sex now? And domestic violence shelters, does that mean that they can only serve single sexes now? Like what? Yeah, like they're not going into enough detail with this. This is like insane that this type of bill is passing because like it's just so clearly, patently not well written. Primarily people of color are the victims of harassment. Oh yeah, for sure. This bill was written by people who think that only women can get raped and abused by their partners. Never mind the fact that, you know, there's probably a higher instance of men being predatory toward young boys in a men's bathroom as opposed to trans people being a threat to anyone in a public restroom. And this is going to make it materially less safe for trans people. You know, it's really rich. It's really disgusting to me. And I don't really use the word disgusting very often because it's a very strong word and I feel strongly about it. It's fucking disgusting that this is supposedly promoting the health, safety, and privacy of individuals within such circumstances, when the realistic outcome of this is going to be even more of a dangerous situation for trans people. It's already been relatively dangerous if you don't pass and you go into a trans woman, and you go into a bathroom, you go into a trans woman. Woo, smuggy. Yeah, so whose privacy, whose safety? Exactly, celebrity guest. Like, trans people are going to have their privacy violated by you trying to scrutinize what our gender was at birth. Like, how the fuck are you gonna know that? Are you gonna make me pull down my pants? Like, whose privacy are you protecting? Whose safety are you protecting? If you're creating more scrutiny on trans individuals, people are gonna be angry, people are gonna accost us. And so, yeah, like for me, this is going to affect me starting July 1st. I already generally try to use the gender neutral, you know, like separate bathrooms because that's what I'm most comfortable with. But in certain situations, I have to make a choice about which bathroom I use. And that choice is going to be even more difficult now than it has been in the past. And like, I guess basically for me, it comes down to like, I have no choice but to use the men's bathroom. Or like maybe if it's a day where I'm not wearing my binder, then I will have to use the women's bathroom and just hope that no one tries to talk to me, you know? These are the calculations that trans people have to make now, just trying to exist in public, going from place to place. So thank you, Kansas legislators. I have lived in your state my entire life, and you are fucking me over for no reason whatsoever. Like, thanks for that. I hope that terrible things happen to you repeatedly until you are no longer in this world. It's also going to be dangerous for the Karens who try to enforce this crap as well. Some of them are going to get hurt. Some already had, and it will increase this when people know they're going to jail anyway. Yeah, like if you try to accost someone, that's a thing in America. If you try to bother someone, you have no idea if they have a gun. So, I mean, good fucking luck. Because trans people are starting to lose our patience and we're starting to carry weapons. So, I mean, have fun. Hollow would get in trouble no matter what. It has big tits and a dick and a voice that doesn't pass in either situation. I always wear a mask, so like people can't see my face. So like if you are trans, that could be a thing. Like you should already be masking in public places anyway, but maybe for your safety, masking is a good idea. Like if you have very visible boobies and you're trying to use the female restroom because you're a trans girl and you deserve to be in there, like maybe wear a mask and like wear your push-up bra and don't talk to anyone. It's so fucked up. Like I just realized that what I was saying was, here's how to continue using the bathroom even when it's against the law, which is, it's not really my intention, I guess, to use my public platform to say, here's how to break the law. And it's also, I didn't realize that basically what I was saying is like, you've made a law. Oh, wow. You've made a law in Kansas that is telling me that I need to use the female restroom because that's what I was assigned at birth. But the practical realities of this law being in place and like the way that there is scrutiny on androgynous people in female restrooms, like I literally have no choice but to break this law for my own safety. Like I have to use the men's bathroom when the non-binary like disabled bathroom is not an option. Like I literally have no choice but to use the men's restroom opposite to what this law says, because using the female restroom is going to be increasingly unsafe for me as a person who was assigned female at birth. So stupid. Y'all are so stupid. I know a trans girl who always wears a mask in public just in order to pass better. I mean, it has the fun side effect of allowing you to not catch COVID over and over again. So everybody in here should be wearing N95 masks anytime you're in public, and probably including at outdoor events, unless it's very windy. Just imagine if a large bearded trans man walked into the women's bathroom. Yeah, we've had this conversation a lot of times before of, yeah, like, realistically, a trans man who passes is going to keep using the men's bathroom, and we are not going to ask trans men to put their lives in danger by using the women's restroom in order to make a point. You know, GOP says trans men don't reel. True. It was a long time ago now, but I think we did cover it on the channel that there was a trans guy who went to a campground and asked the owner of the campground where they should use the bathroom, and that person said to use the female bathroom because that's what they were assigned at birth, and they did that, and then they got beat up by some cis guy whose girlfriend got upset by the trans man being in the bathroom. So yeah, realistically, as I said earlier, the only thing that androgynous and gender nonconforming people can do is use the men's room and hope that there's less scrutiny on that space. Get a diaper fetish, it's safer. Couldn't you argue that gender expression being violated and restricted by the law is a violation of our freedom of speech? Court cases will likely be argued on First and Fourth Amendment grounds. Which one is the fourth? Hold on. Unreasonable searches and seizures. Okay, yeah, I mean, it could be First, Fourth, and 14th Amendment, because the 14th Amendment is Equal Protection Clause, but the Fourth Amendment is protecting people from unreasonable search and seizure, which I think means like we might be able to say it's unreasonable to be asked for your ID before you go into a restroom, or it's unreasonable to be having your genitals looked at before you go into a restroom. The ACLU did comment on this law in Kansas. The ACLU did comment, so we can hope that there's going to be some kind of injunction. But it doesn't suck any less that this is how things are going, and it's going to be a long fight in the courts, most likely. It's gonna be May. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. I want to especially shout out this month Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvog, Danielle McDonald, Amanda B., Athiette, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Sarah A., Wellington Marcus, Michelle Winter, Desi Quiche, Jamie Jam, Suzanne Maynard, Mr. Atheist, Elizabeth Bartell, Kevin Young, Nova, and Sojo.